He had been in search of a stunning bride, but instead, he discovered a brilliant and intelligent wife. Among my friends and me, there exists an unspoken tradition of celebrating our children's weddings separately. Let me clarify. Weddings today are quite different from how they used to be. Young people are increasingly drawn to European-style weddings, destination weddings, and modern celebrations. Therefore, we decided to hold our own separate celebrations. We attended the wedding ceremony, offered our congratulations, raised a toast to the couple, and then proceeded to our own private gathering. When our friends Olia and Tolia informed us that their son Jenka had tied the knot and invited us to the wedding, my friend Tom and I had already made plans for an intimate gathering among peers, reminiscing about our own wedding experiences and such. Everything went according to the plan at the designated time. We witnessed the signing, raised a few toasts in honor of the newlyweds, and then departed for a different restaurant to continue our festivities. We had a fantastic time, however, to everyone's surprise, as the moment arrived for Jenka and Alina to depart for their honeymoon after the feast, they unexpectedly appeared at our restaurant. As it turned out, their flight had been canceled for some unforeseen reason, and their guests had already returned home, since their reception venue had been reserved for a specific duration. Consequently, they decided to delight their parents and remaining guests by joining us and, in a sense, completing their wedding celebration. Needless to say, Jenka's parents were overjoyed. Yet there was one person even happier than them. Curious why? It was because I had the opportunity to firsthand learn the story of how Jenka, who had adamantly rejected the idea of marriage for so many years, suddenly became a husband. Frankly, during the feast, Olia and Tolia had shared some intriguing tidbits that only fueled my interest in this life story. I did everything in my power to find a moment to inquire about all the details from Jenka. I had started to think that it might not work out, but fate presented the perfect opportunity. Not only did Jenka recount his love story to me, but he also shared it with everyone present. After some additional questions regarding their initial meeting and how they ended up together, Jenka embarked on his amusing and enlightening tale. Who would have told me a year ago that I would be speaking about this in public? I wouldn't have believed it. But now, since my parents are already aware, and Alinka doesn't mind, I'll tell you the story of how an unyielding bachelor like me ended up getting married, and I'm still happy about it. Well, let's see how it all unfolded. It's no secret that my parents did everything in their power to find me a suitable match. If I recall correctly, it all started when I was around 25 or 27. My mom tried everything, introducing me to daughters of friends, tearfully persuading me. Both my mom and dad believed that only a wife could save me from making foolish decisions in life and business. Now, at the age of 38, it's been more than 10 years of relentless pressure about marriage and grandchildren. I didn't want to upset my parents, but I also didn't want to get married. Why? I was content with my life of freedom. Thanks to my parents, I had a successful business, my own apartment, and a car. What more could a young and handsome guy ask for? But my mom insisted and pressed on. She demanded that I at least make an effort to find a suitable partner. She arranged visits for me with eligible girls. As I approached 30, I became adept at postponing discussions about marriage. Whenever my mother asked me to meet someone new or play the role of a potential groom for her acquaintances, I would oblige. However, among my acquaintances, I found that they were all focused on glamour and fashion, unemployed, and lacked depth. Naturally, my mother disapproved of them and asked me to end the relationships or look more carefully. I would promise to break up with the current lady and then allegedly choose the next one, just to appease my mother until the next conversation. Overall, it kept everyone happy. I had my freedom, and my mom was satisfied that I was making an effort to find a partner, even though luck was not on my side. What else could I do? I didn't like any of them. I wanted someone beautiful, but they all seemed shallow and empty. And so, the main changes in my life and destiny began a little over a year ago, on the eve of my dad's anniversary. My mom had been warning for a few months that she would gather the entire family, and I had to attend with a partner. Who knows if she was trying to push me further towards marriage, or if it was just routine. Either way, I started considering my options, which were almost non-existent at that point. Under the pretense of searching for brides, I even reintroduced my mom to the wives of her friends, who were open to such an adventure. The anniversary was drawing closer, and I couldn't imagine who I would go with. I even had sinful thoughts of trying to meet someone online. But then I realized, how could I explain to a stranger that they had to pretend to be my bride? It's not a movie. There are no second takes. I didn't want to embarrass myself or my parents in front of the entire family. For the next month, my mom asked me about Alina in every phone call, how things were going between us, and so on. Fortunately, my parents and I didn't live close to each other. I was in the suburbs, so we didn't see each other often. Until one day, during a phone conversation, my mom said, "In a week, I'll come to visit you for a couple of days to see how you live. Your dad and I have our routine checkup at the clinic, as usual, and we'll stay at your place. Let's see how your life together is progressing." I was taken aback. Playing a bride for a day, even with an overnight stay, was one thing. But how could I ask Alina to stay with me for a couple of days? I started feeling like I was playing the role of a fake fiancé. But then I thought, what did I have to lose? At least my mom wouldn't bring up the topic of, when will you get married, anymore. And as for Alina, well, she would probably ask for a bonus. Throughout this time, she had never shown any interest in me as a man, so I assumed I was safe as a bachelor. On the same day, I called Alina, and without a hint of doubt, not expecting her to refuse, I asked her if she could move in with me for a couple of days, just like before when she played the role of a bride. And immediately, foreseeing the situation, I said, "Of course, I'll give you a bonus." To my surprise, Alina didn't answer with a straight yes or no. She said she needed to think about it and would give me an answer the next day. The next day, she came to the office with a folder and said, "Here are my proposals for restructuring the work in the supply department. If you promise to consider them while we play the bride and groom, I agree to once again be a potential daughter-in-law for your mom. And if you value my proposals, I will apply for the position of department head." Well, what could I say? I didn't demand a position. She merely asked me to consider her proposals. It wasn't difficult for me. A day later, she moved in with me to establish a semblance of family life. We slept in separate rooms, but otherwise, we lived like a real family. It was a practice for my mom's sake. We agreed to address each other informally and drop the use of patronymics only in front of my subordinates, and informally in front of my mom and when we were alone. I'll be honest, I even started envying married couples, especially those with wives who were truly domesticated. Alina quickly brought order to everything and made the apartment her own in no time. I didn't even realize when she managed to do it all. When the appointed time arrived, my parents came to visit, not for a couple of days as originally planned, but for a whole week. I was happy to see my parents, but each day became more challenging for me to continue playing the role of a caring fiancé. I waited for my mother to reject Alina, who was trying to play her part. Nothing worked. Toward the end of their visit, my mom initiated a conversation during dinner. "Alinakta, what are your thoughts about the wedding?" Mom started cautiously. "What about me? A man is supposed to propose." Alina responded nonchalantly. "What's a wedding? Today, we can live as a family without it. A marriage certificate doesn't solve anything." "How could that be?" Mom objected. "A wedding isn't just about a white dress and guests. It's a legally formalized commitment," Mom protested. In the end, we avoided discussing the wedding that day, but it was clear to me that Alina had no intention of rejecting the idea. My parents eventually left, and Alina returned to her own house. By the way, I almost forgot. I did consider Alina's work proposals, and they were genuinely excellent. To be honest, I felt a sense of shame. I hadn't seen what she saw. Her proposals were worthy of a department head position. To spare you the details of our dating journey, let me summarize by saying that when I was on the verge of proposing to try a genuine relationship instead of just playing roles, Alina surprised me by suggesting that we visit my mother and let everything unfold there. The following weekend, we went to see my parents, and an interesting conversation took place. Alina openly expressed her willingness to give it a try since she had achieved what she wanted in terms of work. However, she requested that my mom share something with me that I was unaware of, so that our relationship wouldn't be built on lies. That's when I discovered that during a vacation, my mom had met a lady who had similar concerns about her daughter's focus on her career. They had struck up a conversation on the beach, and my mom vented about her inability to get me married, with my work being my only priority. The other woman, who would soon become my mother-in-law, talked about her daughter, describing her as intelligent, beautiful, but career-oriented. She revealed that her daughter had no interest in marriage until she had established her career, and she was constantly changing jobs, fearing that commitment to a family would hinder her professional growth. In essence, our mothers devised a plan to introduce us and bring us together, using Alina as the conduit. My mom explained that, as a leader, I valued intelligence and potential, and Alina seemed intriguing to work in the manufacturing business, especially in our industry. Our mothers genuinely hoped that we would find mutual interest and perhaps even fall in love. No one had anticipated that I would introduce Alina as a bride. However, as it turned out, my mom had been aware for some time that I had been bringing fake girlfriends to meet her. In her opinion, everything had turned out even better than she could have imagined. When I discovered the truth, I was initially a bit angry, but then I pondered, why should I be angry? Not only did I gain a valuable employee whom I would have struggled to find otherwise, but I also had the opportunity to experience family life. We lived together for a while, and one day I thought to myself, if they want to take her away, both as an employee and as a woman, there is no marital status holding us back. So I proposed, and now we are husband and wife. It seems to me that men who have not been fortunate enough to appreciate the wonders of a genuine relationship often cling to their freedom. Jenka is truly lucky. I genuinely hope that he and Alina will be happy because they make such a beautiful couple. I realize that my story may not captivate men, but for female readers, I want to offer a piece of advice. Don't expect everything from men all at once. We men are such that few are willing to make a move until we have confidence in the future. If you like a man, take the first step, and soon it will come back to you 100-fold.